So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 of some of the top, I would say, dangers, drawbacks, missteps, and sources of confusion when it comes to the sort of weird out there stuff of working with other spirits or dimensions, or this really common thing that you see in the spiritual world of people, claiming to channel blah 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 from whatever type of source or place. And this is something I can personally relate to a lot because I'm making videos on YouTube and people send me this stuff on the regular, and it's often variations on the same theme. So over the last however many years that I've been into this stuff and people have been sending me stuff, and I personally just studied things on my own, this is kind of 5 things that I think people don't really realize. And it's probably going to be a little offensive and make me seem like a jerk, but that's life. I'm just channeling the jerk from another dimension, so that's why it's okay. Okay, so 5 things people don't understand. Number 1, first thing is that healthy boundaries exist, and they are a thing, and they're real. And healthy beings relate according to healthy boundaries, whereas parasites, ghosts, vampires typically really enjoy creating sensations or inviting themselves into situations that have poor boundaries. Now, what I mean by this is the common human tendency that so many people have to want to just hand themselves over to something, whether it's divine this or divine that, or my guru or my teacher or my practice, my discipline, my meditation, my chanting, my mantra, love, and just keep naming things. Or on the other side, the government, or getting a lot of money, or being addicted to different things, or politics. The ways in which people just want to be a slave to an idea and give their energy to that and feed it is really quite numerous. But for some reason, once we get spiritual, we build this pyramid which says, oh, all that earthly stuff is down here at the bottom, and it's terrible. But up here at the top of the pyramid, there's the spiritual stuff, and it's better than the rest. So in order to be the best, I have to go to the top. But it's still the same pyramid, and it's still a pyramid, and it's still a really weird way of looking at the world. So that's an important principle to keep in mind relating to people and even other dimensions. And if our human relationships are shit and not very healthy, I wonder if that will translate across the board. Number 2 is following on the same thing, which like attracts like. This is a huge buzz thing. Everyone talks about this. Law of attraction, manifestation, thoughts are things, thoughts are energy. Everyone's kind of hip to it, but saying the same thing in a different way. If a person's sense of self is diminished by being subservient to an idea, an institution, or a higher being, then what is that likely to attract? Because it's really common that people confuse humility for subservience and self-hatred. And the thing is that religion and spirituality and New Agey and human life in general contains a fuck ton. It's an actual scientific term. A fuck ton of self-hatred, which is usually invisible. So trying to always just get rid of yourself and trying to be better at not being what I should be, and always looking for things outside of ourselves. What is that? I don't know. Number 3 is that ultimately cosmic and spiritual wisdom is not really hard to come by, and it's not really a big deal. And there aren't really secret teachings. There might be specific formulations and recipes for combining things, which might be given to a student from a teacher based on a whole list of variables particularly specific to that student. That's true, and that happens a lot, and that exists. However, this whole ridiculousness, it's secret, it's ancient, it's channeled from higher dimensions and other beings, and all these things, wow. Not really. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I guess this leads us to number 4, which is that ghosts and demons can pretty much show up usually according to our biases and preferences. So if we're, looking for something or opening ourselves up to something, then basically pretty much anything around that might be hungry might be like, oh, yeah, looks like a good meal. I'm gonna jump on board. Or maybe they'll just want to fuck with us because they're jokers or silly or funny, which that happens a lot. Which is one thing people do not understand about the casual use of psychedelics and drugs and magic and yoga and all of these things, is that we're using these things casually, but we don't understand what's happening on an energetic level, and we don't necessarily do it with people who are actually real. We might be like, oh, I know a shaman. He went to the Amazon. He did a ceremony, so he's like a real shaman now. Or he accessed all of his past life information, so he's a real shaman now. People say all this shit, but that's different than how things really were in these real cultures, that all the things I'm saying they already knew, and it was common sense and it was obvious, and it really wasn't a big deal. And spirits and ghosts and demons and other dimensions and all these things were not a big deal because people just understood, oh yeah, this is just life. This is just this vast experience that we call life. But now our world is very different, and it's almost like, yeah, anyways. So basically what can happen is someone can show up according to however our preconceived ideas might be like, oh, you want cosmic wisdom and information? You want your past lives? Here, check it out. Boom. And maybe it's legitimate, maybe it isn't, but what happens is quite often the person's identity just goes shoop, and just really identifies and wraps itself and entwines with that, and then they have to start wearing different clothes and talking different way and do an awkward spiritual eye gazing and bowing and lowering the voice and talking much lower and not saying anything mean and being just really nice, People just have to do all kinds of things. Not that there's anything wrong with those if that's naturally who you are, but it's funny. It's funny to watch. And again, this isn't always malevolent. Not all spirits are evil and they're going to get us. Sometimes it's just silly. It's just fun to mess with people, which is funny. Often, in the number 5, this leads us to that quite often sometimes these things are yet another outlet for a person with a poorly developed sense of self to just latch on to something else. A teacher, a guru, an institution, a system, practice, becoming an energy junkie or a spirit junkie, or having to just basically spiritually bypass or really cause just a lot of unnecessary things. I mean, ultimately that's what it comes down to. But ultimately it's also our choice to do that or not, or whatever we feel like it, because ultimately, I don't know. It's just my experience and what makes sense for me. And a lot of people are going to maybe read this and be like, oh, this guy's just a fucking jerk. He has no idea about anything higher, really spiritual. He's trapped in the physical realm. If he only knew about these higher realms. Like, literally, someone wrote me an email and was like, hey, hi, I just wanted to let you know that you're really trapped in the physical realm and your soul will never transcend past the 3D realm. Like, people really write this shit. And it's like, okay, but somehow soliciting strangers on the internet and telling them things like that when you don't even know them very presumptuously, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. It just entertains me. I read that email and laughed for I think like 15 minutes, and then I probably went and ate a cheeseburger, and really got anti-spiritual, and tracked myself to this shitty worldly dimension. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the video. Those are the 5 reasons. Moral of the story is I've met a handful of people who really are open to these other worlds and really do communicate with other beings and do really weird shit that most people on the planet don't believe is possible, without going into specifics. And then personally, I've had my own fair share of weird fucking experiences. I'm not going to say specifically because I don't really care. say these things publicly, but ultimately it doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant. It's really not that big of a deal. And I don't know, like, so what? I don't know why people have to go so nuts over this shit. But that's just me, and I could just be a negative, angry, judgmental asshole. I'm sure there's probably a few thousand people are gonna watch this, like, oh, this guy's a fucking jerk. I'm channeling the being from Arcturia, and I'm an ancient, divine, ascended master. Right. Makes sense. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was at least entertaining. If not, hopefully I've completely discredited myself of all higher wisdom at this point. So anyways, thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe, comment, and in your next life, things will be better. But if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. You're screwed. Haha. Sound familiar? Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.